Hi there, my name is Irene, and in this video, we're going to be building this custom lighting fixture in Revit. So let's get to it. So as usual, because I'm going to be creating a lighting fixture, I'm going to start with a new family. Now, this family is going to be, let's go with English Imperial, just to save some time. And I am going to be going with the lighting fixture. Even though the lighting fixture seems to be like a pendant, I'm not going to make it ceiling based because, again, sometimes you may work in a project where you don't have an actual ceiling category geometry in your model, and instead you have either a floor or a roof serving as your ceiling. So because of this, it is much easier to work with just a lighting fixture. Okay, so we're going to start with lighting fixture and open. Now, if we look back to the reference image, you can see that this is a relatively complex geometry. We have these kind of like leaf elements that we need to work around modeling. So that is going to be the hardest part of the project. Beyond that, the lighting fixture itself seems to be pretty simple. Where the light is, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to assume that there's probably two light bulbs, one in the bottom element and one in the second from the top element. So what I'm actually going to do, because this is a lighting fixture that has multiple light sources, I am going to start by creating those elements. So in my lighting fixture family, what you can see is that what we start with is a light source. The light source is not very visible, but if you switch to consistent colors, you will be able to see it better. Let me move my head away. Beautiful. So you can see here my light source. I also have these reference points. I do not want to mess up with them because they are the ones that will determine the point from which I am holding the geometry when I go to place it into my project. So at this point, this is just going to be kind of like the light bulbs of my lighting fixture. So what I can do is go to my front view, for example, and all I'm going to do is create a revolve element that is going to be the light bulb. Now, the reason that I like to do this is because light sources are not visible when you bring them into the project. So by creating a geometry that is attached to the light source, it's just going to make it a little bit easier for you to tell if the light fixture element is there. If it would just be the light source, you're not going to see anything. So I'm going to go forward and I am going to create just a simple circle right in the center where my lighting fixture is. Let's say that I don't want it to be really big because it's going to be a little light bulb, and a little light bulb is going to be what, like maybe like 2 inches, maybe 3 inches, 4 inches diameter. Let's say we're going to make it like 1.5 inch for the radius. And then I'm going to draw a line here in the middle, and that is because we're working with revolve. Revolve is only half of the circle. So I'm going to go SL to use my split tool. I'm going to break this circle, and then I'm going to use my trim tool, TR, to trim the excess of my circle. To finish up, I'm going to pick my axis line for the revolve, and I'm going to pick it to be the reference line that we see here and lock it up. Now, I'm going to immediately get an error message. Do not panic. It is an important error message, but it's not the big deal that you think it is. So this error message is basically telling you that the light source is now trapped inside of a solid object. So light sources in Revit, they are like the part of the lighting fixture that actually generates the light that you see in the room. So if the light source is trapped inside of a solid geometry that has a solid material, the light cannot escape and you're not going to see any light. So the solution here is two options. Number one, I can move the light source, this point here, outside of the geometry, or you can change the material of the geometry to a material that allows light to go through. This can be either a transparent or a translucent material. So I'm going to go here on my 3D view. Oh my God, where are you? There you are. And all I need to do, once again, I'm going to switch it to realistic so I can actually see what the hell is going on. There you go. So see, all I need to do is select the sphere that I created and change the material to something that will allow light to go through. So I'm not going to make it parametric because I'm not really intending on changing back and forth that material. If anything, I might just edit it directly into the project. And then I'm going to go home here on my Revit library, AEC. And within glass, you can find one option that is a material that already has illumination assigned to it, self-illumination, so I don't have to set it up from scratch myself. I will still probably edit it, but this saves me a few valuable seconds. Okay, so this is going to be my first light bulb. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to save this family, and you can give it a pretty basic name. You can call it lamp, you can call it bulb, you can call it light bulb, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to call it light bulb. Beautiful. All right, awesome. Now, if we go back to the reference, the light itself has two light bulbs in its construction, two light sources. But what's going to happen here is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this light bulb and I'm going to nest it into another family, so that way I can have more than one light source. Because one of the limitations of working with lighting fixture families in Revit is that each light source family can only contain one light source. So for example, if I select this light source family here, I can, family element, I cannot delete it. I'm pressing the delete key, nothing is happening. I'm gonna go with copy. Oh, no copy option. So if you want to have a lighting fixture that has multiple light sources because you want the realistic behavior, what we're going to do is we're going to take this light bulb family and we're going to nest it within another light fixture family. So now we're going to create our second lighting fixture family, and that second lighting fixture family is the one that will contain the structure of the light fixture itself. So we're going to go new again, family. And once again, I'm going to go imperial just to keep it consistent. And I'm going to choose lighting fixture again. So I'm going to start with this. And before I bring my light bulb element, I am going to be modeling the geometry. Now, again, this is another lighting fixture family. Let me actually, yeah, this gets a little bit confusing. So let me clear out a little bit the number of views. You can do that by going here on the top left and just clicking on close inactive views. This is going to make it so only one view remains. So see, that one was the one for my bulb, and this is the one for my new family. Once again, let's switch to realistic. There is my light source and nothing else. So now, because I'm going to be modeling the geometry of my object, my recommendation here is that you bring a reference. In an ideal world, you would have an AutoCAD or a DWG or line work of that family. I went searching for this one and I couldn't find it, unfortunately. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to be working with a photograph and some general dimensions. Is this ideal? No. Is it better than nothing? Yes. So, you know, you roll with the punches, so to speak. So I'm going to take my image here and I'm going to save my image as, it's a JPEG. I'm just going to put it on my desktop and I'm going to start by bringing the picture. Now, if you're going to work with an image reference, my recommendation is that you try to find a picture that is as kind of like front as possible or side view. You want to avoid pictures that are at an angle, because when things are at an angle, you're not getting an accurate read of the dimension and the shape of the object. So that front picture is as good as it's going to get for me. So I'm going to go to my front view of the new lighting fixture family, and I'm going to go insert, and I'm going to go to import image. Now you're going to get a message here that is going to tell you that the imported image will not be visible in the project. This is important to understand. You can bring as many reference images as you want. When you load this family into the project, none of those images will be visible. So what Revit is trying to tell you here is that you can bring images to a family, but those images should only be used as a reference, and almost like a reference to trace over, but they're not really going to like be the geometry for you. So another important thing is that after you're done using your reference, you should delete it, because otherwise it may slow down the performance of the family. So I'm going to click here, close, and I'm going to get my image. I think it's this guy here, and let's place it. Okay, there is my lighting fixture. So what I need to do next is I need to scale this image, because this, whenever you import an image into Revit, the scale is whatever Revit was feeling like. And this lighting fixture, it is supposed to be specific dimensions. So the easiest way to do this is you want to find a dimension of this lighting fixture that you are aware of. Now, if I go to the website where I found my reference images, you're going to see that it's only really just giving me the dimensions in general, which is like not super helpful, but it is what I get. And it's just giving me like the general dimensions. So 75 centimeters by 50 centimeters. Good enough. This is not like, I'm not going to be modeling this lighting fixture for production purposes, aka this lighting fixture is not for like the company that produces the lighting fixture. This is just for interior design workflow. And what that basically means is that I don't need this lighting fixture to be absolutely perfect. I just need it to be close enough. Okay. So we said 75 centimeters by 50. I'm going to assume that the 50 is kind of like from here to here. And I'm going to assume that the 75 is from here to here. Yeah, I'm going to assume. So I rather work with this dimension because I'm a little bit worried that these leaf elements are kind of like distorted by the perspective. So what I'm going to do in order to resize or scale an image, you're going to select the image and you're going to find the scaling command here quick key RE. So I'm going to go RE. And when you're scaling, there's two ways that you can do it, graphical or numerical. Numerical means order of magnitude. So you basically make something 3 times bigger, half the size, 20% of whatever it was. Like you're just saying like whatever it is, it's going to be less or more by this percentage. Graphical, on the other hand, is basically you taking 2 points, 2 reference points within the image, and then telling Revit, hey, see like the distance between these 2 points, it's supposed to be this value, and then it's going to resize. This is the best method to use if you are drawing things like lighting fixture, furniture, and other elements that you're referencing from an image. So I'm going to try to click here. Now it's not going to be super precise because it's an image. There's no inference points or anything. So let's bring it to, let's say, here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Revit what size that is supposed to be. One of the things that I really like about Revit is that Revit is a unit-based software. And that basically just means that it doesn't matter what unit system I choose. Whenever I type a value, as long as I indicate what is the unit as a suffix, Revit will automatically scale and adjust those dimensions for me. So even though I'm working with Imperial, I can type 75 because all I need to do to make sure that Revit is scaling correctly is type CM at the end. Let me do that again. Select, scale, click here to begin, click there to end, and then 75 CM. There you go. CM for centimeters, enter, and Revit will do the rest for me. Awesome. So now what I want to do, I'm going to position my light here to be used as reference. And what I'm going to try to do is center the main kind of like height of the lighting fixture with my reference plane. And you can see that it's not perfect. This is why I hate working with images, but you know, we do what we can. The other thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to bring this light as low as possible. And you're going to see why in a minute when we start working with our light sources. Speaking of light sources, this guy is right now here, and that's fine. We're not concerned with the light source yet. We're just concerned with making sure that we model the geometry. So I'm going to start with the easy part of the geometry, which is this like pipe element here, and then we will build the rest of the family based on whatever it is that we're going to want to do. Now, it does look like the lighting fixture has these like little balls here and then here. It also seems to have some plate elements here to kind of like fix the lighting fixture, the petals in place. So there's a couple of options here for me to work with. One is I could work with extrusions from the top view, but because I have spheres and the best way to model a sphere is with revolve, I think what's probably going to be easier for me is if I model the whole element here as a single revolve. It's just going to make my life easier. And the whole thing is the same material, so there's no need for me to be modeling a bunch of different objects. So with that out of the question, we're going to go to create and we're going to create a revolve. So same as when I did my light bulb, what I'm going to do is I'm going to model only half of this profile, and then I'm going to pick the axis of my revolve, and that is going to basically extrude it on 360 degrees. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with a little circle. Again, this is not perfect. The image is not perfect. We just need to roll with bunches. I'm going to bring it here, cut it, SL for split, and then TR, trim. Now, one thing that we're going to be careful with is I'm actually going to make my arc just a little bit shorter, like I'm going to be using the split. The reason for that is that, for example, let's say that I have one of those little rectangular elements, like the little plate that we see here. If I just do this, and I'm going to do one of them so you can see what the problem is. If I do one of these, and let's say I'm going to bring it, I don't know, there, and then bring it here, and then bring it here, what may happen when I go to do my revolve, so I'm going to pick my axis, and I'm going to pick this element here and lock it, what may happen is this. You're basically going to get an error message that is telling you that there's overlapping images. So this is happening basically because the line is coming all the way to the vertical line, touching it, and then coming back out. That can cause some trouble, like Revit basically gets confused. So one very easy way to avoid this from happening is just fake it till you make it. I'm going to draw a little line here. And then what I'm going to do is use my trim tool to basically cut it up. I'm going to delete. Oh, it's too small. Arg. The other way that I could do it, undo. The other way that I could do it is just bring this guy a little bit down. So initially you might be like, wait a second, like, aren't we supposed to avoid intersections? Yes, you are. But what we're doing here is that this one is on purpose because now I can go TR, trim, trim. There you go. And what you're going to see now is that if I say yes, now it's going to create my geometry. So very, very important. If you're using Revolve, you want to make sure that you avoid the profile kind of like coming in on itself and then back out. So with this one drawn, I'm going to draw the rest of them, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to copy this guy to the other places where I have my little sphere. Let's say we're going to put it. Yep. Oh, look at that. That's perfect. I'm going to take this guy here and I'm going to mirror it there. See, anywhere that I can cut the amount of work that I have to do, I will cut the amount of work that I have to do. We have two there, and then this one I think is just like the other one, so it's just like a little circle. So I'm gonna go mirror, and let's put it somewhere like there. Yep, perfect. Oh, actually, there's no circle here. So let's get rid of this guy. Let's get rid of that guy. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to finish drawing my profile. So let's say it's going to go over here, something like that. Yeah, again, like the dimensions are a little bit because the image is not perfect. The image is slightly tilted. So we're going to have to roll with the punches. We're going to bring it here. I'm going to ignore that detail. That detail is too small for me to care about it. So I'm just going to bring it down. And then to finish off, I'm going to make sure that like there's no overlapping and that things are trimming correctly. So I'm going to start with this guy, trim. Oh, this guy. I'm going to bring this guy over here all the way to the top. I don't know why it wasn't letting me trim. Maybe it will let me now. TR. There you go. Trim, trim. Beautiful. Awesome. And I'm just going to do my trim, trim with, see, this kind of stuff. You cannot have that. It has to stop. Let's bring it here. Same thing here. Trim, 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 trim. And then we're going to go here, trim, 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 trim. And I think that's it. Once again, I've already established what is my axis, so I don't have to set it up again. And when I say yes, one of my lines is not correct. What is going on here? Delete. Oh, I had a double line. That's another very important thing. When you're drawing the profile, make sure that you don't have, again, overlapping lines. So a line that is on top of another is an overlapping line. So trim, trim, there you go. That should be better. Is it coming? Yeah, it's going all the way down. And then yes. Where is axis? Oh, I did not specify my axis. I thought I did. Select and lock and yes. There we go. Now let's go to the 3D view to see how it's coming along. Beautiful. Look at that. Gorgeous. Now, I'm going to assign a material to this guy. And again, this is where you want to stop and ask yourself, is this a material that I am going to want to change later from the project from, let's say, material A to material B? If the answer is no, you can just select the geometry and assign a material. If the answer is yes, then the material should be parametric. So for this part here, I'm just going to make it brass. But for the petals themselves, I want to make it so I can later change those materials. So maybe I want it to be solid. Maybe I want it to be glass. Maybe I want it to be whatever I want it to be, right? So we're going to go here, home, AEC. And then here, I'm just going to tap on the search bar brass. And there you go. The Revit library comes with 2 brasses. I'm going to choose second brass. I don't know what's the difference between these 2 guys, but this one looks good enough. We're going to go apply. We're going to go OK. And now my guy is made out of brass. Now, brass is not going to look really good here because it only looks good when it is rendered. So that was the easy part. Now let's get on to the spicy stuff. How are we going to make these petals? So the thing is that there is no way to just like model these petals in a single go. Like, no. So what we're going to want to do instead is basically deconstruct it. So if I can think about like what elements I can use from the Revit modeling tools to make this guy, my immediate thought would be like, well, this looks like an ellipse, or even like a sphere. I think I'm going to do an ellipse so I can make it a little bit like easier to manage. So this shape looks like an like a 3D ellipse, so to speak. And then it looks like you just took a bite out of it. So I can basically make this with creating a kind of like a watermelon shape. And then I'm going to use voids to take a bite out of that watermelon. So the way that we're going to make the watermelon is going to be with Revolve again, but this time, instead of modeling a circle, like half a circle, we're going to model half an ellipse. So let's get to it. I'm going to go Revolve, and I'm going to be working on this front view because this is the best reference that I have of the geometry, and it's going to be the one that is going to make it the easiest for me to work with. So I'm going to choose the ellipse shape. Now, this ellipse is not perfectly centered, although I'm not sure. So again, don't be afraid of changing this shape. So let's say we're going to come here, and then we're going to do something like that. Yeah, you know what? that seems to work okay. Yeah, okay, so that's gonna be my general shape. Now remember, because it's a revolve, I'm only going to model half of the ellipse. So I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm gonna go SL to split, and then I'm gonna go TR, trim, 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 trim. Now, oh God, I escaped. Let me go back here. The other thing that I can do here, because if I just do this, my watermelon is going to be solid. And I don't actually want the full watermelon. I want just like the skin of the watermelon. So what I can do here is go to pick line, and I'm going to give it an offset. And I want that offset to be like the teeniest, tiniest thing, because as you can see, this lighting fixture is very dainty, is very fragile looking, so to speak. So let's give this offset like, I don't know, 2 millimeters, 2 mil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and just make sure that I put the offset on the preferred side. Ooh, that's not looking hot. See how it's kind of like getting to overlap? I don't want that. So let's do something. Before I cut my watermelon, I'm going to offset it. So I'm going to avoid this and then avoid that. And I'm just going to go here to pick line and offset. And I'm going to say 2 millimeters. And that should solve the problem because they're, oh, there you go. See, that's much better. So again, the reason that it was getting distorted was because I had already cut it in half. And sometimes that can cause the offset to get, let's say, get a little bit confused. So now I'm still going to draw my horizontal line, but now I can make it smaller because it's just going to be for like the kind of like outer line and interior line. I still need to use my split face. So SL and then split and then split and SL. Revit. That's fine. Let me go here, trim, trim, and then trim, trim. And now you're going to have no choice. Oh, it's already split. What? Okay, trim. I think I did click. It just did not pick up on it. It's behaving weirdly. Ooh, Revit, why are you like this? Oh, why is it broken like that? Ooh, I don't want that. That's not what I want. Let me delete this. Why is it acting so weird? Yeah, this is one. I'm not sure why it's doing that cut. Let me try to do the offset 2 millimeters again. And then let's put it here. There you go. See? Now it's Revit. You're so strange. Trim. I think that might just be a glitch. Ooh, there you go. Bring it there manually. I don't know why. Whenever I decide to work with curves in Revit, Revit is absolutely like, I will make your life hell. Maybe I should pick up the message. Okay, so regardless, we have created our watermelon skin. And now what I need to do is set up my axis line. So I'm going to pick my axis line. I'm going to draw it because I don't have anything to pick, basically. So this is my axis line. I'm going to make it a little bit beyond so you can see it better. And now we're going to say yes. And if I go to my 3D view, this is what we have. We have a watermelon. So what I need to do now is I need to create the cut in my watermelon. So the thing is that if you look at this image here, what you can see is that the cut is not even. So it's not like my watermelon is going in this direction and then the cut is going in this direction. It seems like it's a little bit tilted at an angle, so to speak. So this is going to make things on one side a little bit trickier because I'm going to have to play the guessing game. But on the other side is going to be more fun this way because I get to just like play with it until it looks the way that I want. So the one thing that we need to do here is that because this is it's going to be an extrusion, like a void extrusion that is going to be not perfectly straight or perpendicular, I'm not going to be able to work with the reference planes that the lighting fixture comes with as a default. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go to my floor plan view, and I am going to create a new reference plane. So reference plane, sorry, quick key RP. And I am going to create a reference plane that is going to be slightly tilted. And again, how tilted? I don't know, man. I don't have the factory drawings. So we're just going to wing it. We're going to guess. So I don't know, let's say 30 degrees is enough. One thing that I like to do is name these reference planes that I create. So it's a little bit easier for me to figure out like which one I'm working with, because what we're going to do now is after I created my reference plane, we're going to go back to the front view. And now I am going to create a void extrusion. So again, you could, if you want it to be fancier, you could make it a void blend or a sweep. Like you can go a little bit crazy with this. I'm trying to keep it simple because again, I am not the manufacturer. These are not like perfectly accurate drawings. I'm just trying to approximate the vibe. So I'm going to do here a circle. I could do another watermelon ellipse if I want to, but like I don't think I need to. I'm just going to make a big circle. And see, basically what I'm trying to get or approximate here is the diameter of this cut. Do I need it to be smaller? Probably. something. No, I want it to be bigger. Let's start with this and see how it goes. Like I may need to completely redo this, or this might be perfect. We'll see. So I'm gonna say yes. And now what's gonna happen if we look at it on 3D view, you just have this void and you can see that it's already starting to cut. So all we need to do is go back to our reference level. Oh, I'm a silly goose because I forgot to change my reference plane. See, so when I went to the front view, my reference plane aligns with this reference plane here, and I actually want my cylinder to be aligned with this reference plane. So never mind, delete. I could also reassign a new reference plane, but it's fine. I'm gonna go here, go back to create, go back to void extrusion. And now before I draw, the step that I forgot was to set my working plane. And this is why I like to name them, because now I can say it's just gonna be reference plane 1. So we're gonna click OK, and I'm gonna go and make my circle again. And it has to be really big, really something like that maybe. See how my circle looks a little bit like an egg? Like it's not a perfect circle. So this is because, again, we're working at an angle. So like my circle is getting distorted. So that's fine. We're going to say yes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the top view. And all we want to do is make sure that we're taking it like all the way to the end of like the watermelon, so to speak. And if now we go to our 3D view, this is what we get. See? So basically what you're getting is a cut that is different in different areas. So again, I'm not like, if I go here to the front view, you can see that like my cut needs to be, probably my cylinder needs to be much smaller. Maybe I can try to do an ellipse instead of a circle. So let's continue playing with this shape. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna speed up through the process because this is very iterative. There's no, like, again, I cannot just use the reference to know exactly what shape and how big. So I'm gonna speed up through that process and I will get back to you when I'm done with it. So see you in a bit. Cheers. Here we go. So again, this is not perfect, but as you can see, like the height of the lip of this guy and the height of the lip of this guy are really, really close, which means that I am really, really close with my lighting fixture. And again, I cannot be more precise because there's not enough information. But if we look at the 3D view, you can see that it is very closely creating the effect that we desire. So fantastic, amazing. We have our first petal, so to speak. So now what I need to do is, if you look at the reference image, what's really happening here is that the same petal that you have in the top, you have it at the bottom, but at the bottom it is mirrored. So it's mirrored down and then it's mirrored horizontally. It's mirrored vertically and horizontally. So what I can do here is, instead of having to do this entire process all over again, what I can do is select both the watermelon skin and the void that is cutting through it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drawn mirror, and I'm going to make sure that I set it up to copy. Now I'm going to pick for my reference. I'm going to try to pick where my circle like center is. If it's not super precise, don't sweat it. And I'm going to draw here. Yeah, close enough, good enough. So that is the first half. So, but again, what you can see is that like it's mirrored down and I now need to flip it. So to flip it, I am going to once again select both of them. And once again, I'm going to use my mirror tool, but this time I'm going to uncheck copy. And I'm going to use the reference plane as my axis. And who's going to be deleted? Nobody. Oh, Revit, you and your warning signs, you just want to scare me. Again, my assumption here, just based on the image that I'm looking at, is that what's happening here is that the angle of the photograph is not perfectly like aligned. And if I would orbit this guy, I would probably get more of that effect. Okay, so this is basically it. We have the first petals, and the second one is basically exactly the same thing. This one seems more like a whole egg that maybe has been cut through. So it's again an ellipse, but instead of being like long on the horizontal, it seems to be long on the vertical. So we're gonna do exactly the same thing that we did with our first watermelon. So I'm gonna do the first one, and then we're just gonna mirror and mirror. So let's get to it. We're gonna go create. We're gonna go to revolve, and in this case, I'm gonna do again an ellipse. This looks like a pretty hefty ellipse. I'm gonna go first down. And then I'm gonna go, yeah, it's a pretty big egg, man. And it's also off-center. So let me bring it, yeah, something like that. Yeah, that seems perfect. Perfect. Awesome. And we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did before. We are going to go with our offset. So I'm going to go here, offset. I'm going to set it up to 2 millimeters. Oops, 2 millimeters. And then I'm going to come here and click the inside of the egg. Now, why does it cut it in half? I did not ask you to cut it in half. So you know what? Let me first cut my egg and then we can finish this. So I'm just going to go here and I am going to cut my egg here. And then I'm going to go and then I am going to split my egg, SL, split the egg, trim, 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 trim. Isn't it interesting that when I was drawing it horizontally, I was like, it's a watermelon. And now that it's like vertical, it's an egg. Ah, the human mind. So 2 millimeters. And we're going to go offset inside. Ooh, did it even make it? Man, Revit, are you okay? I don't know why offsets give such a hard time. I could try to make it like a little bit thicker because I think that the size of the offset itself would be part of the problem. Let me actually try that. What happens if I say 5 millimeters instead of 2? Yeah, see, that's better, but that's so ugly. It's so thick. I don't want it to be this thick. Can I bring it? Yeah. No. Let me try that again. Let's bring it just a little bit. Ah. There seems to be a point after which it collapses. So fine, have it your way. This is going to be a little bit chunkier. Fine. And then I'm going to go SL to trim this guy, to split this guy, and then we can do our trim. Again, it doesn't pick up, so I'm just going to manually bring it here. And then I'm going to select this element here, and I'm going to manually bring it, manually bring it here. Finally, I am going to set my axis line, and that one I'm going to draw it because once again, this is not perfectly aligned with my reference planes. And say yes, and then, ooh, let me save it. I have not saved this. What's the name of this lighting fixture? It's called Celine Pendant. All right, so let's save it on my desktop as Celine Pendant. Beautiful. All right, awesome. So I have my egg. And what we're going to do now is the same way that I cut these elements here, the watermelon, I am going to also cut the egg. And what you can see is that the cut angle seems to be very similar, like the first and the third and the second and the fourth. So what I can do here is I can just use the same reference plane. I don't need to use a new one. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to speed up through the process of creating these ellipse that is going to be a void so we can see how it cuts because it's going to require a lot of back and forth try and error. So I will speed up and see you in a bit. Oh no, we've made a terrible mistake. My egg is in the wrong reference plane. Remember how I set it up to 1? I forgot to not set it up to 1. So you know what? This is going to be a good example of how to fix something like this. So one thing that you could do is just delete it and redraw it. Or the other thing that you can do is pick up the geometry and then select a new working plane. So I can come here and say edit work plane, pick a new working plane, or let me actually do it the other way, which is to edit work plane, and I can just switch it here from reference to, I can say, pick a plane, and then I could say, actually, this might be easier on the top view. Yes, so I'm going to select my egg here, edit work plane, and I am going to say that I want to pick, and then let me see. It's not going to let me pick. Can I pick a new host? No, fine. I'm going to have to do things the right way, which means that I'm just going to select my egg. And to try to save myself a little bit of trouble, because this egg was very annoying to draw, I'm going to Control C, copy my egg. I'm going to delete this egg here. And now I'm going to go and create a new egg. No, not an extrusion, revolve. There you go. And now what I'm going to do is make sure that I set up my work plane to be the source axis front back. And now I can say, okay, Control V, and there is my egg. So now I just need to place it where I want it to be. We said something like that, maybe? No, it was a little bit off. Something like that. I actually think I may, yeah. I'm gonna draw the egg. I don't like how it's looking. Let's go with the ellipse again. And this time it's gonna be, again, kind of tall. And then something more like that. Something like this. Maybe that's why it was collapsing, because I was looking at it from an angle. Okay, perfect. So let's see if it's going to work now. So I'm going to go 2 millimeters. Oh, no. First, we are going to cut it. So I'm going to go here. Oh, actually, I can go 2 millimeters. There they are. And then I don't need this half. Yeah. And I can just go here and say, okay, you're going to go from here to here. And then we're going to say SL to split. And then we're going to say trim. Oh, no, it's making it collapse. Why? Not what I wanted. It is what it is. So we're going to have to make that offset a little bit bigger. Maybe I can get away with 3 millimeters. Nope, I cannot get away with 3 millimeters. How about 4 millimeters? Good enough. We're going to call it a win. And we're going to come here, select our vertical line and stop it there. And then select our other vertical line, bring it down and finish. We're going to create our axis line and then just draw it. So one thing that I'm not entirely sure if it's coming through, but working with circles and ellipses and working with very small dimensions tends to be very finicky. Like Revit does not want to. So if that happens to you, just don't get frustrated and just pivot. So see, for example, here, I cannot make it 2 millimeters. Fine, I will increase the size until you do the thing that I want you to do. There is no point in me fighting Revit because Revit is always going to win. So I'm going to finish here. There you go. And if I remember correctly, I had already created my second void. So I just need to make sure that Revit recognizes it. So if we go here, we have, oh God, can I even see that void? Was it? Yes, it was this egg, tall void. Let's see. Yeah. It was this guy. So now what's happening here is that by default, Revit is not understanding that this guy is supposed to cut this guy here. So we're going to do that, we're going to give Revit that instruction manually by clicking on the cut geometry tool, and we're going to select our this guy, and then here comes the tricky part. We need to find this guy. So I usually try to see if there's any clue anywhere that highlights, and I'm going to click here. Ooh, this egg is, oh, I know what's going on. So before I fix my egg here, the other thing that I want to fix is, see this little bite here? So that means that Revit has gotten confused and it's assuming that I want this guy here to cut my watermelon. So if that is happening to you, don't worry. All you have to do is the same way that you can use the cut tool, you can use uncut. So I'm going to select egg void and then select watermelon, and there you go, fixed. Okay, so now the reason that my egg is looking so weird is because I still need to edit how far it's being extruded. So for that, I'm going to go back here to my reference view. And as you can see, it's not really going through. So let's do something like this. Unjoin, that's fine. What is going on here? Ooh. See, now it's cutting that. It's not cutting the egg at all. You know what? Let me just redraw that void because it seems to be super confused about what it wants to do with its life. And again, it is instructed to cut the other one. But okay, see, this is giving me a much nicer cut. So what I'm going to do here is kind of like the same thing that I said earlier. I'm going to select this guy and I'm going to say uncut this guy here, my watermelon, from this guy. There you go. And now I can see this guy much better. So now I can start playing with the position. So let's say this guy's going to be a little bit higher. There you go. Until you see about the shape. Oh, cancel. Let's stop it there. Sure. I can also come here to my cylinder. Let's say edit the extrusion. And let's say that I'm going to rotate it just a little bit because I want it to have that tilt. Let's see if that's going to work. Ooh, unjoin. Oh, wow, and it's doing the top as well. So it seems that I didn't realize that I was modeling the whole thing. Fantastic. Let's select this guy and let's bring this egg down. Again, I want it to be a little bit lower. Oh, went too far. There you go. There you go. And now what I'm noticing here is that I don't want this guy to be exactly where it is. This guy's supposed to be lower and it's also supposed to be flipped. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to go back to egg. And now I'm realizing that I don't need to model the entire half ellipse. I can just draw half of it. So now, there you go. So now to finish up, we're going to do exactly the same thing that we did before. We're going to grab egg, we're going to grab void, and we are going to mirror them. So we're going to go mirror, and I'm going to start with the kind of this midpoint here. Elements will be deleted. Let's see what, ooh, again, too many interactions, too many voids. So what I can do here to fix this is, again, you can uncut the different elements. So this guy here is doing great, which is fantastic. But let's see, there's so many things on my screen. So I'm going to start by uncutting this guy. So watermelon from, not that guy, from this guy. There she is. Now this guy is barely, second watermelon is barely visible. And I am going to uncut it from, oh God, this is going to be so hard to figure out. Ooh, from, no, yeah, from that guy. There you go. Oh man, the intensity. And then where is my third egg? Oh, I think it's because did I mirror without copying? I think I did. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Let me undo, undo, undo. Okay. So we're going to select egg and void, and we're going to go mirror. Ah, yes. We're going to copy the mirror. Again, you're still going to have to fix because there's still these kind of like overlapping of void cuttings. So again, you're just going to go uncut and top watermelon from, it is interacting with one of these guys. There you go. And then second watermelon. Oh God. Eeh. Second watermelon from, I think it's this guy. Nope. Wrong void. Second watermelon from, is it this guy? Yes. And then final egg from this guy. Yay! Oh my God, that was so hard. My brain hurts. So we're going to select this guy and its respective void, and now we're going to flip it. Although, yeah, no, we have to flip it. And then void, and then we're going to go mirror without copying, and I'm just going to set it up on the reference axis. Elements will be deleted. Yes, that's fine. This time we do want to do that. God damn it, I have to uncut. Oh, isn't Revit fun? Uncut. First watermelon from, is it you? Nope, wrong cut. First watermelon from this, yes. Second watermelon from you, nope. Again, second watermelon from you, and then bottom egg from you. Oh, Jesus Christ, we did it, team. Finally, I think if I look at the 3D view, yes, I think that my voids are cutting through the pipe. So I'm just going to uncut them from the pipe. Uncut, and it's basically any egg that it highlights. So I'm going to unselect this one. Now we can see, and now again, pipe, and we're going to say from that guy. And when we go to our 3D view, look at my beautiful child. Isn't he lovely, beautiful? Now, let's make a parametric material for the petals, because the thing is that I don't know if I'm going to change my mind and I'm going to want these to be glass, or like I want it to be porcelain, or I want it to be metal, or I want it to be something else. So just to give myself freedom of choice, I am going to select these three geometries. The geometries, you have to be very careful that you select the actual geometries, not the voids, because you cannot give a material to a void, right? So I'm going to select egg. And I'm going to come here, and in material, instead of setting up a category, like choosing here a material, I'm going to click here on associate family parameter, and I'm going to create a new parameter for that material, and I'm going to call it petal. And I'm going to make it a type. So if I have multiple of them, all of them are going to have the same material. I'm going to go OK. And I'm just going to assign the same parametric material property to all of them. Because the one thing is that in the image, it does look like all of them are the same material. So I'm going to set this guy up, and then bottom egg, petal, OK. And then now, if I want to, I can just assign a material here directly. And I'm just going to assign like a porcelain just so it has a material in it. So let's extend my AEC, and let's see if we have porcelain. Porcelain ivory. Let's bring this guy in. That should be good enough. Apply, apply. Okay. So the light fixture is done. What we need to do now is bring the light source. So again, when we're talking about the light source, this is the part that will generate the light. The fixture is just the body of the lighting fixture. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to first import my light bulb, or insert, sorry. So I'm going to go here to where the original family that I created with my light bulb, and I'm going to go load into project. And usually I like to place this in the front view. Let me do that again. CM. Oh, why is it not going to let me? Is it because of the way that it was? Oh, that's fine. Let's just put it here. And again, if we look at the reference image, the light bulb itself cannot be centered with the lighting fixture, because that's where the tube is. So what is likely is that it's going to be here on this element and it's going to be here on this element. So I'm just going to put it slightly offset. Like, doesn't matter where, we can edit this position later. So I'm going to click here. Now, this warning is just telling me that I cannot see where it currently has been created, which is the top floor plan. But if I go to my front view, I should be able to see there is my lighting fixture. So once I bring it in, I can move it to where I want it to be. I am now realizing that my bulb is ginormous, so not a problem. I'm going to go back to my 3D element, and I am going to edit the extrusion, like this revolve, sorry. And I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's bring it in significantly. Let's do that. And then, okay, perfect. Yes. Yep, that's a little bit smaller. I'm going to save and I'm going to load it into my project, not my project, into my other family. Override, there you go. That's a little bit nicer. And if I go to my front view, there you go. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I nest this guy close to the bottom of the pendant. So that is going to be my guy number one. And now I have two options here. So option one would be that I just copy this guy here and then I put it here. Now the problem with this option is that we still have a second light source that we need to take care of. So what I like to recommend in this case here, because we only have two light sources, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to bring this guy down, and this is going to be my second light fixture. Now, right now, I'm going to get again that error message because what's happening is that this point, that is my light source, and it is trapped inside of my tube. But what I can do is I can go here to my reference plane, and I can just move it to the side. So I am going to select the light source itself and just move it away. Now, it's going to give you another error message that it's simply going to tell you like, hey, this guy is right now set up to be locked with this axis and this axis, but you can actually remove that lock. So I'm going to remove those constraints, and there you go. Now this guy is free. I'm going to put it in around the same like position as this other one. Go back to my front view. And I think this guy needs to be a little bit lower. And now I'm going to do exactly the same thing that I did with that guy. I'm just going to create a revolve that is going to be a little circle. So I'm going to make my little circle. Make sure that you're working in the correct, reference plane, front, back, okay. And now I'm going to make my circle, which is going to be, again, I don't want it to be really big. So I'm going to draw my half, and then I'm going to go SL to split, and I'm going to go trim, 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 and then I'm going to pick my axis line, and I'm going to say that it's going to be there. Sure. And then yes. And there you go. So now what's going to happen is that this bulb is going to, like, we're basically creating the illusion of two light sources that are the same, but they're actually two different objects. And that actually does create a problem because what's going to happen is that when I go to control my light sources, I'm only going to be able to change the bottom one. So what does that mean? Well, look what is going to happen. I no longer need this reference, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to save this guy and I'm going to load it into a project so you can see how that looks. Give me a second. I'm going to jump to a project and then we will see how that looks. All right. So, I forgot to do one thing, and that is to make this sphere material an emissive material just like my other one. I already have the material from the other one, so I'm just going to make sure that they're both the same. And now we are ready to load this family into our project. And this step is super important because this is the only way that you can test a lighting fixture to see if it actually works correctly. You're not going to be able to render it on the family views. You have to bring it into a project. So I'm going to load it into my project, and I'm just going to place it anywhere, really. Let's say I'm going to put it here. Let's say I usually like to put it, so like create a nothing room and put it very close to the walls, because that way I can immediately see if the light is generating any light at all. Sometimes if you put a lighting fixture in a very, very big space, it might look like it's not working, but what happens is that the place is too big for the lighting fixture to illuminate it. So here's my lighting fixture. I'm going to go RO. I just want it to be a little bit rotated because I have a camera here. And if I go here to my 3D view, here's my lighting fixture. So this is the first thing that we need to address, which is how do I change the height of the lighting fixture? So this is why, if we go back to the lighting fixture, I chose to put the light source that comes with the family at the bottom and the one that I inserted at the top. Because this reference plane here, you cannot detach the light source from it. And this reference plane here is the height from floor. So lighting fixtures by default, when it comes to setting the height is from level. So if I want to adjust my height, what is going to happen now is that I can just count like the height from the floor. And this is great because this is actually how we usually do lighting fixtures. You don't really say like, oh yes, I want it hanging 2 feet from the ceiling. Instead, you usually say, I want the lighting fixture to be 6 feet above the floor, 8 feet above the floor, 3 feet above the countertop. So you're usually working from the bottom up when it comes to dimensions. So because of this, I can come to my 3D view and I can say, okay, I'm going to select you and you are going to be, see, level 1. And I can say, well, you're going to be, I don't know, 6 feet from the floor. And there you go. See how it's moving it? Now, the other thing that I want to address is the height of the tube element. So one thing that you're going to notice is that I can't really change that value, but this looks kind of silly, like the lighting fixture is just floating in the air. It's even sillier if I create a section. So if I create a section here, and I open this, you can see that this guy's like, yes, like Jesus Christ is holding this light in place. So what I need to do is I need to make the pipe element parametric. That basically means that I should be able to move the height of my lighting fixture overall and then independently move the height of the top here. So let's go back to the family and see how to do that. So in order to do that, anytime that you want to have a part of your family that will change, that part is going to be parametric. That means that you need to have a reference plane, which is going to basically direct those changes, and then a parametric dimension attached to that reference plane. So I'm going to go RP for reference plane. I'm going to create a reference plane at any height. It doesn't really matter. So let's make it pretty big here to begin with. And what I'm going to do is, first thing first, I'm going to attach the top of my tube to this reference plane. Now with this, you may want to be careful because depending on how you created the geometry, you might deform it when you do this. So let's see if it does it here for me. I'm going to go AL to align. It's this tool here. Click on my reference plane, click on the top of my tube here, and it seems to be okay. I'm going to go lock, and let's see what's going to happen if I move the height of my reference plane. Okay, it's not working. Now this guy is completely like stuck, locked, like nobody's responding. So what I'm going to do here is there's two things that I can do. The easiest one is I'm going to ignore because basically you're never going to move this reference plane. You're only going to move this guy. And what you can see here is that as long as I don't go crazy and I move this guy like inside the other profiles, I'm not going to get any error messages. So that's good enough for me, man. I'm going to bring it pretty close so I have some range of movement. And now what I'm going to do, and this is super, super important, I need to create a dimension and make that parametric. So I'm going to go DI for dimension, and I can either measure from this point or from the base. But basically what I want to do is I want to have a dimension that goes from the bottom to the top. So in my case, I'm going to do it here from the floor, and I'm going to put it to that new reference plane that I created. And now I'm going to make this dimension parametric. So I can come here and say, this is going to be, it can be an instance, so I can have different versions of them at different heights. And this is going to be pipe height. And I'm going to say, okay. And now I'm going to save, and I'm going to load into my project. And that is going to update my lighting fixture. I'm only going to overwrite the existing version, not the parameters. And if I go back to my section view, what you're going to see now is that when I select my lighting fixture, I should be able to get, oh, why is it not showing? Yes, this is going to be a problem. Well, let's test that out. So I have now, you can see I have my elevation from level, which is this like height in general. See, if I change it, that guy changes. And now the second one that I have is the offset from floor. So let's see what happens if I measure this guy to like 8 feet. Oh no, that's not what I want. Whoops. It's this guy. My pipe height, let's say that I want it to be 3 feet. Yes, it's not working. So I'm going to explain. Yep, that's pretty messed up. So I'm going to explain what's going on here. So undo. Basically, what's happening here is that because I modeled the whole thing, I wasn't careful to make sure that they were all aligned. Not aligned, but aligned and locked. So what I need to do here is I'm going to need to be a little bit more careful. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to not attach it to the reference plane, but I'm going to attach it to the reference level, but I'm going to attach it to the light source. So my locking dimension is going to be from here to here. But before I do that, the most important thing is that I don't actually want to move the pipe. If I want to be really, really precise and make sure that it doesn't break, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the pipe and I'm going to go to edit revolve. And what I'm going to do is make sure that I'm editing, that I'm locking the profile itself. Let's see if that's going to help. If not, there's other things that we can do. Do not worry your little head. There's always another option. So I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say now dimension from here to here. Let's see if that makes it a little bit better. And I'm going to set that up to be that same pipe height. Let's see. I already saw that it deformed. Yep, deformed. So because it doesn't want to work that way, we are going to do something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be using this reference plane. I'm going to make this element be like whatever height it was originally supposed to be. So I'm going to go undo, undo, undo. I'm going to go before I created that reference plane. And basically what I'm going to do, because if you look at the reference, basically the way that this lighting fixture works is that you have this pipe, which is always the same height, and then you have here a ring, so you can attach a chain. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a second element, which is going to be an extrusion that is going to go from the end of the pipe to my ceiling. So let's take a look at how that would come along. I'm going to undo. Again, I want to undo all of this because I don't want to have that reference plane attached to my geometry. There you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm still going to keep this guy. I can call this guy, well, I don't need to call it anything, because what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to my top view, and I am going to create just an extrusion. The reason that, like, if things get complicated, I resort to extrusions is because extrusions tend to be very hassle-free. Like, they tend to be very unproblematic. They just go where you want them to go. So I'm going to make a really, like, small circle. Again, I don't need it to be super big. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to select this guy and I'm going to check center mark visible, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I align it with my reference planes. So align and lock, align and lock. And then I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go to my front view here. And here's my pipe. So see how my pipe has these little like handy handles? This is exactly what I want. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go align that guy to this guy and lock. And then I'm going to align that guy to this guy and lock. And hopefully what should happen now is that this guy can change without affecting any of these other guys. I'm going to once again do my reference plane. Sorry, I already have my reference plane. Do my dimension, di, from the level to this height here. And we are going to make that the parametric. Oh, I did not make my parametric dimension. So this is going to be chain height maybe. Make it an instance so we can check it easily. And okay, let's see how this is going to behave. Say yes, say load into the project and override. And let's see what's going to happen now on the section view. It's not giving me, I should get a little handle here that allows me to change that height. I'm not sure why it's not giving it to me. If that is the case, because I think like if I change this, it will deform the whole thing. But let's see if I do 12. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it seems to be working fine. So again, the reason that I was getting that error and that deformation is because when you're working with a revolve, you're not really going from bottom to top. You're kind of like expanding like in that 360, and that can sometimes cause issues with adjusting the height of things. So now I just need to kind of like play with this value or do some basic math. So I could go DI and I can find my reference plane to here. My height is supposed to be what, like 4 feet 6? Sure, let's say 4 feet 6. Oh, just a little bit short. What about 4 feet 7? My math ain't mathing. Ooh, 4 feet 8. There you go. See? Nice. So we have one last thing to do, and that is test how it renders. And this is where we live or die. Like if the lighting fixture doesn't render properly, it doesn't matter how much we like it. So I'm going to go here to my show rendering dialog. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it better. Show render dialog. Now, because this is just a test, I am going to leave it at draft. But very importantly, I'm going to change my scheme to interior artificial only. And now we're going to render. And we're going to see what we're going to get. Ooh, would you look at that? That's working very nicely, if I may say so myself. So what we need to do here is now we need to adjust it because, for example, I find this light incredibly yellow. I'm also finding it very strong. I would like it to be a little bit softer. Some of the fixes can be done on the rendering. So for example, I can make my rendering overall brighter and reduce the highlights so it's a little bit more balanced, but the light itself is quite intense. So this is where we are going to mess up with photometric parameters. So the photometric parameters are the ones that control the light source. So how bright it is, what color is it, how far it goes. To do that, we're going to select this guy and we're going to go to edit type. And now we can change, for example, see like the intensity. Right now it's too intense. Let's say that I want it to be 10 lux. And I want it to be, instead of covering a distance of 10 feet, let's say that I want it to be like very like, just more like a decorative lighting element almost. So let's say that instead of going a distance of 10 feet, let's say that it's just going to be like 5 feet. So I'm going to say this. The other thing that I want to do is I want to change the color. Right now it's like very, very yellow. And that's because the Kelvin are set to 3000. So let's say that I'm going to bring it to 4500. That might be a little bit too white, but just so we can see the change. And I'm going to go apply and I'm going to go okay. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to render. And you should see something a little bit weird. only one of them seems to be responding to the changes that I have given it. The top here still looks really, really yellow. If I go even more extreme, so if I go here and I say, okay, we're gonna go to the lighting fixture again, and I'm gonna make it blue, so like even colder. So let's say I'm gonna make it like, I don't know, 7500. So it's going to be a very blue light. You're going to see that basically what's happening here is that only one of my light sources is changing. Now, the reason there you'll see, like that's messed up. That's not the way that we want it. So first of all, we need to understand why this is happening. So the reason that this is happening is because the photometric parameters that we see here apply only to the light source that was originally with that lighting fixture family. So if we go back here to our front view, and we switch to, let's say, realistic, that is only going to affect this guy. So this guy here is just completely independent, its own thing, because again, it's a nested family. It's another lighting source. So what we need to do here is we need to basically tell Revit, hey, I want these two guys to be the same. So when I change one of them, I want to change all of them. So the way that you can do that is by selecting the nested lighting fixture. So this is the light bulb family that we inserted into our lighting fixture. We're going to select that light bulb. We're going to go to edit type, and we are going to link all of these photometric parameters with the photometric parameters of my overall lighting fixture. So you can do a few. For example, you can link the light source symbol size. That one is kind of optional. The most important ones are these three: light loss factor, initial intensity, and color. All right. And when I do all of this, what you're going to see is that if I save and load it back into my project, when I override, and go back to my 3D view, when I render, now the changes will affect both the light bulb at the bottom and the light bulb at the top. Beautiful, isn't that lovely? Now that is way too light. That light is blue. I don't like that, so I'm definitely gonna change it. So let's say with something like this, I think like something warmer works better. So let's say like 4000, not too yellow. And the intensity I think is working pretty well. This is not supposed to be like, a task light. So let's render here and see how that's looking. Much nicer. And there you have it, a rather complex lighting fixture made with a lot of trial and error. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a, thumbs up, give it a share. You can leave a comment. If there's any other lighting fixture or element, interior design element that you would like to see me model, by all means, feel free to leave it in the comments. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for sticking through, and I will see you when I see you. Have a good one. Bye.